My words became day-long groanings. That to me is the message. Because as we speak to you, I believe we are all Kenyans, fellow Kenyans, our country, even as we pretend to host over 30 heads of state tomorrow in Nairobi, there will be an air of pretense that we are a cohesive nation, that we are a democratic nation, that we are a nation at peace with itself, while we know that that is far from the truth. However, we want to welcome our African brothers and sisters, leaders who are coming to Kenya for the Africa-France Summit. Ideally, that used to happen in French West Africa. But because of the global situation, a lot of realignment and alignment in the continent, in the West African coast, the French president decided to convince President William Ruto to host it in Nairobi. But that is a story for the day after tomorrow. What is happening right now is a nation under stress. We give lip service to, for example, the freedom of worship. Because I say that because as we speak, as these leaders come, and this has never happened before in our country, that a spiritual leader is slaughtered inside the church. This happened on the 3rd of May, 2026, to Reverend Julius Dumia Ngari, PCA, Tubanga Parish, I believe in Nakuru. I want to suggest we stand for a minute silence to remember this affront, this aggression against the Church of Jesus Christ. Why don't you do that for just 1 minute? Thank you so much. He will be buried tomorrow in Nyeri. And some of my colleagues, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua called me in the morning. I think he's gone to church in Rongai, outside Rongai in Kajiado. And tomorrow will be a very emotive day. As the African leaders gather in Nairobi, the country will be burying a spiritual leader as if it was not enough to throw tear gas inside a church, as happened in the church in Othaya, another PSC church, PCA church I think it was. And we could see a man of God dressed officially in what Shakespeare would have said, speaking costumes, right? Living and escaping for their dear life. That is the state of our nation. That is the state of our freedom of worship, which, by the way, is guaranteed under Constitution 2010. Very specifically, you're dealing with an administration which gives lip service to that concept of freedom of worship. And yet, the Church of Christ was used in 2022, truth be said, because Apostle Kenyan challenged us very powerfully that if we keep quiet, then I think that amounts to complicity But I now see that the church is rising up again. And there's going to be light over Kenya. Light over Kenya. That we are not going to have fake utterances on the freedom of worship. Fake. These days on social media, and the young men have told me, Nigod Manze. So, fake. And the whole church gets hoodwinked into believing that men and women who come in the name of Jesus Christ, holding the Bible, can actually turn around and become what we all know is the truth in our country. Isn't it the case that a proposed legislation that is supposed to regulate the church was just sat on, waiting for the appropriate time to spring and say, Apostle Chris, you will be regulated. Why is it? Or you'll be overtaxed. Why is it that this congregation looks so prosperous? You have to give somebody to Zacchaeus, something to Zacchaeus. The preacher for the day looked at what we are seeing. Because God is not poor. And you serve a living God. And He has given you favor to reach out. If you hear the true story about our brother, Stephen Kenyeli Musyoka, that you can rise from being a chokora to an international preacher, then you see, we really truly serve a living God. So I'm here as we launch this very important program. What Apostle Ikui thinks may look like child's play to a lot of people. But the deep spiritual significance of this event is going to touch every corner of our republic. I know for a fact that altar